and you belong and you're part of this household of God.
South Point Church wants to make it clear that everyone is welcome. But that welcome wasn't always so clear. The church was part of the Canadian Baptists of Western Canada, a denomination that defines marriage as between a man and a woman only. When Colin Evans came out over 15 years ago, the congregation didn't know how to react.
Was it possible that the church was going to kick me out and I'd have, and that would drastically change my life?
His presence caused a division within the church, which discussed canceling his membership. But when Colin Evans met David Carlson, the man who would become his husband, they began attending services together, undeterred.
We were very much targeted by certain parts of the church that were saying, like, you need to take a stand against David and Colin, you need to let them know that they're on the outs and that they're not okay. And it was a horrible time for us.
Simply by being there, we caused enough discomfort that the conversations were having to be had.
Longtime church member Leah Costumo remembers a meeting where David Carlson wasn't allowed to vote.
I remember thinking, oh wow, that's hard and generous of him to be here as a witness and a participant without the ratification of you're a full member.
With time, the people most opposed to Colin and David left the church. 10 years ago, a new pastor, Ann Baxter Smith, arrived and helped the church come to a consensus.
It was a very conflictual time there at the beginning, but once I began to get clarity and find language around what we believed, and I began to stand on that and name that, then I'd have these waves of relief.
The church confirmed Colin Evans' membership and extended it to David Carlson. In 2015, David and Colin adopted Becca and raised her in the church. But the story wasn't over. Baptist churches in Alberta filed complaints, and the Canadian Baptists of Western Canada adopted measures to discipline congregations that deviate from their values. That's why South Point Church chose to leave the denomination, which did not respond to our requests for an interview.
To have the church say, no, you're not going anywhere. We as a church are taking on the labor of this to protect you.
South Point had joined another Baptist association which fully accepts LGBTQ people, with the support of its congregation.
Oh, I could get emotional. It feels like relief. It feels like justice.
Well, this is a human story. It's our story, and it's a story for us to face up to and to deal with.
Colin Evans and David Carlson just moved to Victoria. They're grateful for their journey with South Point.
I just have nothing but pride for the church and where it's come to.
But I feel so grateful that we didn't give up, that we stuck with it, that we leaned into the discomfort, and that we listened, I think, to God's Spirit and were open to change.
Gratitude for a path 15 years long that has at times been extremely painful, but a journey that the congregation nevertheless sees as a blessing. William Burr, CBC News, Surrey.